Thank you, Rajesh. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can.
So, Sylvain, very good to see you, and thanks for attending this event, and also thank you for judging some of the awards. Now, you also assess, like you are Chief Rating Officer of EcoVadis. What that means is that thousands and thousands of companies around the world are being assessed by your organization year after year. So you are very deep into assessing a company's sustainability performance or a sustainability management system. When it comes to sustainability reporting, what is it that you see in a sustainability report which can impress you? What are you impressed with in a sustainability report?
Well, there are a number of things. First of all, we rate, like you said, thousands of companies all over the globe in lots of different industry sectors and countries, and also a lot of different size, medium-sized companies, small size, medium size, very big companies. So I think what's important, not necessarily impressive, but what makes it credible for me is first of all some form of materiality analysis, because it's only the company that can understand very well what is material to them and the way they present and report this materiality analysis in a simple and graphical way to the readers of the report. So I think that's for credibility. That's for me. That's the first thing. The second thing is whether the report had been audited by a third party, because increasingly there is a regulatory pressure coming on ESG reporting, and for instance in Europe, CSRD will have to be third party audited. So it's going to become mandatory, and it's going to be business as usual. So today, if I look at a sustainability report that is not third-party audited, to me that's a negative point. And I think also what makes it even more credible is when companies are sharing the challenges that they are facing, and even sometimes the failures that or the lack of progress on certain topics. Stakeholders don't expect companies to be perfect or to achieve all their goals at once, and I think it makes it more credible when the report is really explaining the stakeholders, what's happening, what progress they have made and what challenges they are facing.
Sure. Well, yeah, you've picked up on some of the biggest challenges of reporting: materiality, third-party assurance, talking about challenges. I mean, these are things that, once the European directive kicks in and companies have to start auditing their sustainability results, I think we'll find that a lot of them have a few surprises in store. Many companies already do that, of course, but there'll be a lot that will probably get a bit of a shock. So, you've been judging now, Sylvain, for a while. These reports. What changes are you seeing in reporting? What are the trends? What are the differences that you're seeing now versus say a couple of years ago? Because the landscape is so dynamic. Are the reports themselves dynamic?
Yes, no, that's true. A lot of things are changing. The maturity is growing, so that's the good news. The downside of that is like now there's a lot of data and information published, and it's sometimes difficult to sort out what's interesting from what is not interesting and what is mere storytelling. So again, the structure of the report, the infographics, the graphical design, the way you project data is important. And I've seen in the past 2 years, I've seen some very good examples in this year competition, by the way, from SMEs being able to project in a simple way, what they're doing. Also, in the dynamic, I think also there is an echo on what's happening in the standardization side. As you know, there is a global effort to have all those ESG reporting standards converging. So CSRD, SASB, ISSB. I think that there is like a common willingness to arrive to one kind of reporting, like in finance, but we're not yet there. And what I see on the company side is that now we see all kinds of reference to those standards, and it seems to be a bit confused. So I think we are, work in progress. Some choose SASB, others choose GRI, others choose something else. So that's why now what is most important to us is really the materiality analysis. Because if you are able to explain in a convincing way what is material to you, you can even think that the reporting standard is like secondary, because at least you're going to be able to report on what's important. So there is this standardization in the background happening, which is kind of in progress, positive, but still a bit confusing. There's a lot of maturity. The maturity is growing. There are less and less reports with like 100% philanthropy or charity or donations. I'm not saying this is bad. This is good to do that, but in the past there used to be reports where 90% centered on this kind of activity and not really on mitigating impact on stakeholders. So I think this is now companies have understood that what is expected from them is really to explain what they are doing, to preserve the environment, to implement good working conditions for the employees, and then what they do on top of that through philanthropy to help society is good, but it's not the most important as far as company stakeholders are concerned. So. No, it's growing. The bar is raising. It's good, and I think the next phase will be when we have, finally a convergence of standards. Then it will help all those reports be more comparable with one another, because we have not reached that yet, and it's very difficult to compare one company with another, almost impossible. And even for one company from one year to another, it's very difficult to sometimes compare over time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Sylvain.
Sure.
Sylvain,
lots of things. I hope I answered your question.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. Sorry, Rajesh, were you going to carry on?
Yeah, so I was going to say that Sylvain made a very good point, and keeping it very simple, that it's important to understand and get your materiality right, because that's where you decide what you're going to report on. So if you don't get it right, you have a problem. And what is a very important point that Sylvain has made, that when you talk about, share your challenges and failures and lack of progress in very complex situations. And that just brings more credibility to your report. It's such a powerful point, and so many companies and reports actually miss this point. And they try to paint a very rosy and positive picture. So those who are listening to us, so it's a good point for them that you also also consider sharing your challenges which are genuine. I have this last question, Sylvain, since you, as part of your EcoVadis work, you have your finger on the pulse of supply chains, global supply chains, and what are the issues in the supply chain, how companies are looking at it or not looking at it. How do you see trends in supply chain reporting emerging in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
No, very good question. Just before I answer to this one, to echo what you just said, two points. Materiality analysis is very important, but also target setting and then showing the progress against target. So I think that's the kind of the minimum or the most important you can do is show what's important, and for those subjects that are important, tell the stakeholders, these are my targets and this is how we're doing vis-a-vis my targets. With this you have the basic fundamental, which I think is great. Sorry. Your question about sustainable supply chain reporting. Yes, I think it's going to become more important because we've just been witnessing a wave of regulatory pressures on purchasing organizations. In North America, in Europe, in France, you have devoir de vigilance. In Germany, you have the equivalent. In UK, you have the Modern Slavery Act. So more and more pressure is put on legislative pressure or legal pressure is put on purchasing organizations to report on what they're doing to make their supply chain and their suppliers more transparent, more sustainable. And then in Europe, a few weeks ago, there was the European directive project, which was published, which will basically ask all the countries in the EU to do like what they do in France and Germany. So again, more regulatory pressure on those large companies to demonstrate that they are responsible also of what's happening in their supply chain. And so as a consequence, I think the quality of sustainable supply chain report will increase. Today, they are, let's say phase one. They are anecdotal. There's only a very small percentage of companies who are actually sharing the results of the audits or assessment of their suppliers. The vast majority are still explaining in broad terms what they're doing to mitigate social and environmental supply chain. So I think it's yet to be improved. Although I've seen, not this year, because this year I was looking at the SME Award, but last year I was looking at Sustainable Supply Chain Report Award, and last year I saw some really great examples, but they were not representative of the entire population. So I think there's a lot of progress to be made, and then we will try EcoVadis to because we have lots of clients doing this, we will try to share the best practices through our websites and publications.
Thank you. Thanks, Sylvain.